What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel, and today I want to continue on with a conversation I had yesterday via a video called Spencer, I Don't Believe You. If you haven't seen the video, go watch it first. There will be a link in the description below, and basically the title of the video encapsulates the content of the video. There is another YouTuber, his name is Spencer. He goes by Fluency Formula, that's his YouTube channel name. Again, links will be in the description, etc. And he basically, in one of his videos, claims that he got to conversational in Mandarin Chinese within 6 months without any prior study. Now, I watched that video and then I made a review of that video, not like actually watched the entire video on my channel due to my copyright concerns, but I watched the video, I provided my input, and basically I picked apart several things where I saw concerns, and then I specifically said, the issue for me, the main issue here is the claim within 6 months getting to conversational level, because that would put you as, in my brain, if this was provable, if I fully believed it, that would put you at the best Chinese learner I've ever encountered, reviewed, or heard about in my life. Like, you just blow everyone else out of the water. Now, Mr. Spencer actually did respond to my video in the comments section, and we had a good conversation, and I felt it was quite civil. So now what I want to do is actually share that conversation with you guys, because it's a little bit unfair if you don't hear his side of the story, and I also feel like it helps basically move this whole thing forward and help us get to the truth about whether he actually did it in 6 months or if something else was at play. Now, obviously, you can tell from my own biases right now that I am very suspect. Like, I am just a very suspicious person overall, which is why when I look into these videos and I look into other YouTubers, I like to look into their claims. Now, most people, when they see my videos, they see me debunking a lot of people and they're like, well, obviously you just hate on everyone. No, I've done positive videos about people. In fact, I'm going to mention one of those videos here because it's totally relevant to this conversation. Anyway, we're going to go through his comments, going to go through my responses, and I'm going to leave this up to, him to move this forward in whatever way he wants. And I also provide my reasons for what I want to do moving forward. And then we'll see, for you, the audience, you can also make your own decision. So let's go down to the comment. Evildea, I'm now a fan of your channel. Thanks for the video covering my content. I'd love to be interviewed entirely in Chinese on your channel and even debate our perspectives on how to learn a language. I'm sure your audience would be curious to see where my current Chinese is now after just passing 1 year of study. Thanks again for covering me. All the best. That was a very polite, respectful comment. So I highly appreciate that, and straight up, that made me want to engage. Now, I'm going to ignore everyone else's comments here because realistically, they're just comments that are either attacking him or attacking me, and they're not relevant to the conversation. Like, I don't care about these other comments, if I'm just being realistic here. This is a conversation between me and him. Now, let's have a look. Hey, mate, I've pinned your comment for others to see. I may bring you on, and we can discuss, but I prefer first if you could cover off on some of my concerns in the video, mainly because just bringing someone on would be a form of endorsement, and I'm not ready for that. Now, here's the thing. Every time I make a video about a YouTuber, they will request to come onto my channel. And there's a reason why I don't bring them on. And in fact, I provide them with challenges for how they can, prove their position in comments like this. And it's because once you come on my channel is now seen more and more as like a place where there's no bullshit. I tell the truth and I present evidence. If I bring even one person on who somehow manages to convince me through, verbal manipulation, not saying this is what Mr. Spencer's going to do at all, I'm not implying that, but I'm just talking in general here. If I bring someone on and they manage to talk their way around, because, having a debate in a video is actually a skill, okay? You need to be good at that. And I'm okay at that type of stuff, but it is a skill. Now, I prefer to just deal with the facts. So I present my facts, I ask you to make a video. If you make a video, and I will review it, I will comment, and then you can comment on me. And in that way, it's civil. We can present our best arguments, and we can present, all the information. In return, people can watch this as much as they want. But if we have like this one video where we just sit down and I'm just digging into you, and then you're dancing around the topic, well, then it doesn't really help, okay? It's better if we just lay out all the information beforehand. Now, when I do get to a stage where I trust someone fully, I will be happy to bring them on the channel. But because I'm highly skeptical at the moment, I'm not going to bring someone on and therefore either indirectly or directly even basically endorse them. So that's why I don't just bring people on this channel, and I probably won't bring on many people even in the future, at least until I feel in my heart that this person's trustworthy. Probably after I've done a full investigation on the person. Okay, let's have a look. So feel free to publicly or privately answer these questions. Was it 6 months only with no prior study? Do you have evidence of that? Because that's a crazy big claim. How many hours a day did you do of input? How did you learn the specific sounds of Chinese? What level of Chinese are you now? You mentioned you could discuss politics. Mathematically, 6 months to say B2 level doesn't make sense. So either I'm misunderstanding or there's something else at play here. Now, for a European language, 6 months, you could possibly get to B2 if you put in like some real hard yards, okay? But if you don't speak a language that's similar to Mandarin Chinese, like if you're an English native, it mathematically doesn't make sense without throwing like every single hour of every single day awake into it. And I showed my evidence for why I don't believe it. And I showed basically other YouTubers who basically recorded their journeys after 1 month or 3 months of intense study, like every hour of every day type of thing. And they were nowhere near this. Okay, so that's why I'm highly skeptical. And all the math out there basically says it's not possible, from what I've seen and from what I've reviewed. So I'm just straight up saying, okay, well, you're the one who's coming into this space with the big claim, because this is a big claim. You ask any YouTuber, you ask most language learners, they will say, yeah, this is an insanely big claim. They will want some type of evidence. So I feel like if you're the one, even if you actually did this, I feel like if you actually did this, this is even more important. Like, you need to be able to present how you did it, okay? Anyway, let's continue down. Yep, no worries, I get that. I would also be cool with the discussion on my channel, even privately. As for questions, what you see with me speaking to my girlfriend's family was in the 8th month or so after studying from absolute zero. My Mandarin was so bad that I actually got relieved one day. I heard my girlfriend on the phone say "Dongxi" to a friend because I was concerned I may have been studying Cantonese by accident. Now, this is either a joke or really confusing, because in the video he made, he claimed to get the conversational within 6 months. However, on the 8th month, which is clearly after 6 months, you heard your girlfriend say "Dongxi" on the phone, and you knew at that moment that, you had been actually studying Mandarin Chinese. This has to be a joke. And I'm going to take this as a joke, because if you'd been studying to conversational within 6 months, it's not Cantonese. Obviously. You can tell within a month the difference between Mandarin Chinese and Cantonese. You can just pick it up, you can hear it. So obviously this has to be a joke. Anyway, let's continue. Daily input was around 3 hours, give or take. Hard to say exactly despite my tracker, as I usually have earphones on as I'm living my life. That makes sense. However, you still should show your tracker, because your tracker is a form of proof. Show your tracker with you doing the 3 hours a day, and you can say, look, this doesn't include everything. I did a ton of passive listening on the side, guys, which is what, just doing earphones while doing your life is. That's passive listening. Now, overall, I don't think passive listening has that big of an impact. There's debate around this type of thing. But just that tracker with 3 hours a day, you should definitely show that publicly. That is really, it's not amazingly good evidence, but it is at least some form of evidence. And people want to see evidence for a claim like this. Okay, I am now at C1 level, at least in Chinese, and just past the 1 year mark. The comment about politics was really about my ability to express political, philosophical views. See, now that you're saying you're C1 after 1 year, this is even a more crazy, insane claim. Now, anyone who's looked into languages, studied languages, knows how hard it is to get to C1, even in a language that's pretty adjacent to one's own. But getting it to it in Mandarin Chinese on 3 hours a day after 1 year, when at the 8th month you only just recognize "Dongxi," am I being stupid for being skeptical? Ask yourself, realistically, if you were in my shoes, is my skepticism justified? I feel like it's highly justified, because this here does not make sense. So I feel like this is even more important to prove. Now, you said you're happy to jump on my channel and have an interview, which basically to me says that you are C1. I believe that you're C1. Otherwise, this would be a crazy claim, and you're going to get disproven very, very quickly when people want to interview you, and people will want to interview you. Now, I believe you're C1. Because otherwise, this entire thing is just bullshit, and it will be busted really, really quickly. And you also mentioned you're planning to jump onto a podcast I'm aware of, so we will know after that podcast what level you're at. So I'm going to wait until that podcast, see you talking, and then I'll know for sure where you're at. But I'm going to assume in this conversation that you are actually C1, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. Learning sounds of Chinese came from input and merely minutes a day of shadowing. By minutes, I mean that in general, no more than 15 minutes on average. It might help that I've been beatboxing since I was 8 years old and I'm now 29 years old. Not too sure. Well, I can't say about beatboxing. I'm not a beatboxer overall, but I don't see how beatboxing relates to the specific sounds of Mandarin Chinese, but maybe it helps you in the training of your mouth and your tongue muscles. But does it help you with like hearing the language? I guess a lot of input can help you with that. So maybe yes, maybe not. I don't know. So at least you answered that question. I can take that. Next. Finally, with respect to proving, I didn't study before 2024. How on earth can I do that for you? Any methods, etc., I'm willing to listen to. Well, I'll tell you what I've done. If you look at my YouTube history, you can see the moment almost that I started studying Esperanto. I made a video 3 months after it, and you can tell because my Esperanto is trash. It's badly pronounced. I'm basically reading a script, or I've memorized a script. You can watch my original video. It's obvious as day. Now, I did the same thing with Mandarin Chinese. I've got old videos on my channel about the time when I started learning Mandarin Chinese, and I'm very open about my claims, and my claims are actually not that, like, I've never made a claim where I say I'm even above average. Hell, I'm probably below average in a lot of ways. I'm very realistic about my language learning capabilities. And the reason I do the videos I do is because I feel I'm stupid. And I like to investigate other people to find out what's true and what's false so that I know for my own sanity whether I'm stupid or not, okay? Or whether I'm actually employing stupid methodologies. Now, I've worked as a teacher for many, many years, so it is incumbent on me that I actually constantly research this and find out and look into others' claims so that if there is some truth out there, I can take that and give it to my students. Now, I'm not an active teacher anymore. I moved out of that trade. I'm now a programmer. I don't do anything with teaching anymore. However, I'm still a teacher at heart, and I still like to know. Okay. In terms of what you misunderstood, I can't really say, my dude. Well, what I was implying with that sentence is maybe I misunderstood your claims. But so far, I think I've understood your claims. What your claims are is that within 1 year, you got to C1 Mandarin Chinese on 3 hours a day, maybe more with passive listening. And you've only ever done 1 year of study, because you literally said that in the next line. To be clear, last year, 2024, was the first time I ever studied any Chinese of any kind. Okay, so basically, your claim is so crazy that it needs evidence. Now, you can ignore me. Like, I'm just some random dude on the interwebs here. Like, who cares about Evildea? But if you are to start selling your course and making money, and I'm all for people having courses and stuff, I'm not against it if you can actually do what you say. People are going to keep questioning, and these questioning is going to get louder and louder. And the fact that people will question will start to tarnish your reputation, okay? So you need to come in with some type of evidence, just for your own reputation's sake. Ignore me. There will be more. There will be plenty more people asking about this. And I basically say, if you're C1 in Mandarin Chinese, then I can say without a doubt your Chinese is way better than my own. And then I basically reiterate what I just said there. The proving is kind of important as it goes to the core of trust. If you can't be proved, then people will just claim you've been studying for 10 years. It's basically just your word. And I feel like that is how most people are going to operate when they hear the claims. They're just going to go, they either trust you because you seem like a trustworthy guy, or they're just not going to trust you. If you want to get the people who don't trust you to trust you, you need the claims. Now, maybe you don't care about those people, in which case, then ignore all of this. Like, I assume you want people to trust you, so that's why I made this video, or the previous video and this one. I want to believe you, but even the most ardent supporters of pure input approach will question 3 hours a day for a year to C1. I feel like this is completely evident from the fact that, for example, Pablo from Dreaming Spanish, who literally launched Dreaming Spanish, he has a roadmap. He shows you how many hours you need to get to conversational, okay? And you could go to the Dreaming Spanish website and you could look at all this information yourself. And this is a guy who's actually, he's got videos of him doing this for different languages and stuff. And I feel like he's more realistic about it. And then tons of people who have done his, Dreaming Spanish, his course, they say it's a massive underestimate. And in fact, you need more. Now, they believe the methodology works, and lots of them have proven that it works, but you do need a lot more hours. And they're talking 2,000 hours type of thing. So, and you've done that in half the time with a language that's way more harder than Spanish. Now, here I make a reference to another YouTuber, Will Hart, who I see as probably the best Chinese learner. But when I first heard about Will Hart, I was skeptical. But then I started hearing his actual claims and they started to make sense. Basically, he claims that it took him like 8 hours on most days, but then some days 6 hours of just constant like obsession of learning Mandarin Chinese. And he goes into depth about like what he did. So he's more trustworthy in a lot of ways. Now, I believe he did that within 1.5 years because when I've seen him in podcasts after 1.5 years, it looks like what you could expect if you put in those insane amount of hours. But your claim basically makes you almost twice as good as him in my eyes. Now, you say, I have massive respect for Will, and he is someone I look up to very much. Even from the start, he's definitely above me and comfortably sits at C2, as I'm sure you would agree. I actually state down below, I can't say whether he's C2 or not, because C2, most natives are not C2. Like C2 requires like university level education, and I've watched videos from Will Hart, and pretty much all of them are about language learning. I would say he's probably a safe C1, but claiming C2's, maybe he is, don't know, but like I just haven't seen the evidence for that. Anyway, this is not like a dig at Will Hart. Like, I highly respect the man. I've made a video on him on this channel where I say he's 100% like, I believe this guy. Next. At this point, I think most of the criticisms towards me can be safely ignored based on what you said above. I feel like my comments above were all justified. I'm not sure if what you're saying here is you're just going to ignore them because you don't feel they're justified, but I feel like anyone who comes and watches these videos and these interactions, 90% of them are going to arrive at the same conclusion as me, that they're highly skeptical until they see evidence. Very much appreciate your opinion, but I've invited you to speak with me and hear my side, and it seems that you might not happen for a while. Shame, because I'm a fan. I'm basically waiting for more evidence. Once I have the evidence and the proof of like you doing this within 6 months, within 1 year getting to C1, I will bring you on. More than happy to discuss. But I just haven't seen the evidence, and I don't want to endorse someone when I haven't seen the evidence for it. Because bringing you on is a form of endorsement. Unless you come on here and I just dig the shit out of you, and I feel like that would just be highly uncomfortable for both of us. You're telling me that unless I can magically pull out some kind of proof, which is an endless rabbit hole, as my only proof would depend on people who have known me for years, in which case I would be accused of staging it, what I did seems unlikely. Yeah, that's a fair criticism, what you're saying there. If you didn't record the start of your journey and you have no proof, that's completely fair. I understand that. Probably most people don't. But most people are also not selling a course. So if you can't prove this, it's basically, this discussion ends at this point where it's people either believe you or people don't. That's pretty much it. I'm just saying, I will stay in the camp of I don't believe you until I see some form of proof. Well, I agree it's unlikely, but I don't know, man. I did it, lol. This is exactly why I show people what I did in my course, because before Will Hart came around, they thought that was impossible too. Now I'm here saying that I built off of Will Hart and co. and did it a way that proved incredibly efficient, and criticism is I don't believe you. Yeah, see, the thing is, we can look at it like this. Imagine, and I'm sure you can imagine being in my shoes right now. Imagine I one day came on here and went, guys, I learned French in a week, and then I started speaking C1 level French. People are going to shit on me. They're going to say, bro, that is awesome French you're speaking right now, but there's no way you learnt that in a week. And why do people say that? Because 99.99% of people are never going to achieve that. Okay, it's just so outside the realm of reality. In fact, realistically, it's probably 100% of people. But I'm gonna leave that tiny little distinction there because who knows? Okay, who knows? Like, you're never 100% like sure about anything in life. But most people are gonna want proof. Okay? And the claim that you've made is basically along the same lines. It's not as crazy as 1 week, but it's still a crazy claim for Mandarin Chinese when your native language is English and you don't speak an adjacent language. It's a crazy claim. And I would say, even if you ignore me, the proof is on you because you're the one who's selling the courses. You're going to want people to believe you and buy your courses. Now, I do understand that I offer a course, and so people will accuse me of that being my only motivation to make claims of speed and whatnot, but I suppose the only proof I can give you is when my course has been around for a while and people come out saying that it's helped them. This could help you, but it may not. And I'll tell you what people will probably say. If people come out and say, hey, you helped me a lot, they'll be like, oh, well, that's good. You're probably a good teacher. But unless those people pop out after zero Chinese 1 year later, C1 level, people are still not going to believe you. Like if you start spitting out students at C1 level after 1 year, people are probably going to be like, bro, what is this guy selling over here? I want a piece of this. Like they're going to want to know then. But unless that happens, then this doesn't prove the initial claim. The initial claim being you got the conversational 6 months and then C1 within a year. Furthermore, I understand your channel largely depends on debunking fake linguists, so I respect your intellectual integrity to simply say you don't believe me, as opposed to obviously fake or something else that you could not prove. Yeah, well, I can't prove that you faked any of this. Like, I'm going based on your videos, so of course I'm going to say I just don't believe you because I'm skeptical. And I'm honest. I don't believe you. But I am open to this because I haven't seen anything that proves, as you said, that you didn't do this. So I'm going to probably stay in that camp of highly skeptical until I see proof. That's pretty much me. I appreciate the back and forth, my man, and look forward to helping you believe sometime soon. Great, I look forward to it. P.S. The reason I didn't film any progress is twofold. This was all meant to be a surprise for my girlfriend and her family and was never my intention to build a course until I found how effective my methods were. I like that. That's nice. Personally, I've never cared for the before stage or the before after. I usually try and change something about myself because I cringe at the before. Yeah, we all get that, my man. I understand that totally. And you know what? I can believe this section as well. Like, I believe you probably didn't at the start record your progress because that was not your intention. I believe that's true. Unfortunately, this actually kicks you in the balls now because you are selling a course and people do want to see the before/after. So, I don't know. You're going to need to figure that one out. Dashul Mandarin is interviewing me on Saturday morning and will likely post it later this month. We'll be sure to shout you out. Okay, I look forward to it. I hope it's a positive shout out. We shall see. Anyway, I will be watching that interview, definitely. And if it turns out to be pretty good, I'll probably do a review on this channel as well. And that's it. That's the end of the discussion. I wanted to share that with my audience because I felt like that was a highly respectful discussion. And it did actually answer some questions. However, it also leaves other questions obviously hanging open. And I am open-minded. I am prepared to have my mind changed based on proof or evidence. Now, based on what we've discussed so far, I don't think I'm going to get that proof, so I'm probably going to remain skeptical. That's unfortunately just the situation that I'm in, and I think you understand that because you have admitted yourself that you probably don't have the proof for this. So I think you can understand why I'm going to remain skeptical and why lots of people will. And I guess I'll leave it at that. Overall, I think that was a good discussion. I'll see you all in the next video. And if you're not there, well then I will find you and I will force you to do my outros.